There's currently just over 1,000 people on the HRM homeless list, and about 700 of them are said to be experiencing chronic homelessness. By this, I mean they've been homeless for over 6 months. And on the public housing side of things, there's over 4,900 people on the wait list. So to say this situation is dire and it's only getting worse would be a huge understatement. Now in HRM specifically, we have about 11,000 units that are already approved in terms of permits, and we have development ready lands for about another 200,000 units, but these just are not getting off the ground quick enough. So the housing crisis in HRM and in Nova Scotia as a whole has been all over the news lately, and it's been a very hot topic, with the public and many city councilors screaming for the province to give some help. And although we're way down the rabbit hole with these issues, the Conservatives are finally taking action, and it seems like they're focused on starting to implement things that are going to create change, even though it might take some time to come into effect. Now, many of you watching are probably of the same mindset that I am, that something should have been done a lot sooner, but at the end of the day, something is better than nothing, and I know a lot of you guys actually think the government shouldn't be involved in housing at all, and I do see both sides of that argument, but at the end of the day, based on the current landscape in around HRM and Nova Scotia as a whole, it is a housing crisis, and we really need some help to get things moving in the right direction. But I would be curious to hear what you think about this in the comments below once you're watching this video and you see some of the points I'm about to make. I'm curious if you think these are good things that the government is doing, or if they should step aside and let the private sector just do their thing, so don't hesitate to drop a comment below. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about 7 items that the Conservatives have recently implemented in order to take action against the housing situation. And yes, some of these will take years to come into effect to fully see the effects of them. But again, something is better than nothing. So this is what we're going to talk about today. But before I do, if you're new here, my name is Andrew Stevens, and I've been a Halifax realtor for 9 years now. And if you're looking to be educated on the Halifax real estate market, then this is the channel for you. So go ahead and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to book a call or a meeting with me to chat about real estate in the Halifax area, you can do so anytime through the calendar link below in my description at a time when it's convenient for you. Okay, so jumping back into it, and in no particular order, item number 1, the province is going to build public housing for the first time in 30 years. Now, this was announced in September of 2023, so just about a month ago, and they're going to build it all across the province. We're looking at 222 new units, which is going to help 522 families, individuals, and low-income seniors. Now, the rent will be geared towards what the income of the renters is going to be, and this is going to be all across the province in Bridgewater, Kentville, Truro, HRM, and Cape Breton. Now moving on to item number 2, and this one is the tiny home development in Lower Sackville. So this is going to be on the Cobblewood Road where the ball field is at right now, and it's going to be 52 new units. So this is obviously just a small scratch on the surface of what's needed, but there are communities that are similar in New Brunswick that I've read about in the news that are doing very, very well. So this is going to be a very similar type of community to that, and this is going to be expected to be occupied next spring for the first 30 units, and then the other 22 hopefully by the fall of 2024. So again, it's going to take some time to get implemented. Moving on to item number 3, and this one is the rent cap was extended and increased. So this was the rent cap that was implemented by the Liberals over the pandemic, and it was 2% growth per year that was allowed. And recently, I think it was back in August of this year, the Conservative government opted to extend this to the end of 2025, and they also are increasing it as of January 1st, 2024 to a 5% growth per year. So honestly, I think a lot of people wanted to see the rent cap come off, and at the end of the day, if they did this, it would create an absolute disaster in across the province, as there's a lot of people living in units right now that are severely under market rent, and if they were put up to market rent, a lot of those people would probably end up on the street. So I think this is the government saying, look, we want to make some change, we want to make it better for owners and developers, but we can't put people out in the street because we're going to increase the rent to whatever we want, so we're going to increase it to 5%. We're going to extend it a couple of years. And at the end of the day, maybe this is the meat in the middle that not really anybody is happy, but it's better than having an absolute disaster on our hands with thousands of people being put out on the street. Item number 4, this one is the Hilton Hotel in Dartmouth. So the province has leased all 190 rooms from this hotel until March of 2024, and this is going to cost the province about $10 million, and they're also going to use it as a shelter and a health clinic, so they're putting another $2.85 million into additional resources there, and their hope is that especially with the health clinic side of things, especially those with mental health issues, this will divert them from going to the ERs that are already extremely jammed all across the province and in our city, but they're hoping that that'll help alleviate some of that as well. So this was a big move that was announced back in April of 2023. And again, the lease right now is going all the way to March 2024. Now moving on to point number 5, and this one is fast track permitting. So this was 9 designated areas in around the HRM that were identified back in the spring of 2022 for fast track permitting, and it worked out to about 22,600 new units. And the biggest ones of these were actually huge subdivisions in Port Wallace and Sandy Lake, accounting for 4,900 units in Port Wallace and 6,000 in the Sandy Lake area. So these are some major developments, and to get these permits off the ground quicker is going to be a huge help to these developers. Moving on to number 6, and this one is a new housing bill. So this was in the news just this week, and this gives the housing minister the sole authority to approve new developments. Now, this was met with some very mixed reviews, with some other government entities calling it an atrocity, and it takes away all the public input and so on of some of these developments. But at the same time, I do understand part of the reason they would do this, because a lot of these developments are backed up with really outdated policies, and to me, based on the current developers in around the city, there's 4 or 5 that are doing a very good job, that have a very good understanding of what's allowed and what's not. So if we want to help these guys get these developments off the ground quicker, I don't really have much of an issue with that, but I do understand both sides of the coin here. This one is so funny to me because the whole vibe of our city right now is we need more housing and we need cheap housing and we need it fast. But then on the other token, that's met with the public never wanting it in their own backyard. So they want all this housing, but they definitely don't want an apartment in their backyard. So it's just kind of funny to think about. And this bill for the next 2 years will also freeze municipal permit and developing fees, along with the Halifax water development fees and the density bonus charges. And last but certainly not least, the next one is federal government funding, which was just announced this week that we won the bid for $79 million from the feds over the next 4 years. And this is coming from the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund. So the whole purpose here is to increase development and get some new units up as fast as possible. So this will help us add about 2,600 units over the next 3 years in around the HRM. This money will also help to fast track new permits, reduce fees on development costs, and also expand its affordable housing grant program, among other initiatives. So all these steps taken by the government are obviously indeed a step in the right direction, but we do have a long way to go, and they don't really address the real problems that we're seeing, such as high interest rates, lack of laborers, and supply chain issues. So this is going to be a problem that we have all across the province, and especially in HRM over the next coming years, but it is good to see something being done and the government putting their money where their mouth is and taking some action on these items, even though it's going to be a small benefit over the next couple years, but eventually all these little things are going to add up. So it is good to see some action being taken, and I'll be curious to see what other announcements are coming up in the months to follow. So there you have it, and if you want to read up more about any of these topics, I'm going to put some links down below in the description for some articles on each of these announcements. And also some of these topics, as they were announced, I made specific videos for them, and I had them in the video up here in the corners as the video goes along. So any of those videos will go into some greater depth of explanation as well. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me anytime through my Calendly link below. And if you're still here watching and you got any value out of this video, all I ask is that you hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content. And that'll help push this out to more people like you who may be interested in being educated in the Halifax real estate market. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support, and have a great day.